Hi, I'm James Heaston, and like you, I'm a beer aficionado. And today we are at North Canton at the Shale Brewing Company. And it's my pleasure here to meet Jeff Joliat. Jeff?
Nice to meet you, James.
This episode of OH-Brew is sponsored by Beer and Ale Traveler. They'll drive you to drink in style. Let Beer and Ale Traveler plan your next brewery or winery tour. Choose from their pre-planned tours or sit down with Rick to customize a tour for your group. And remember, you don't have to drive yourself. Ride in comfort in their limo-type bus with 2 flat-screen TVs and a rockin' sound system. Need transportation for a concert, birthday, or bachelorette party? Whatever the occasion, call Rick to set it up.
My gosh, here, what do you got here for me?
You're having a bourbon-aged pumpkin shale, so it's a slight variation on the pumpkin beer that we created for the season, with a little hint of bourbon now from the barrels.
Yeah. Oh, it smells delicious, and my nose didn't deceive me. It is delicious. That's awesome, Jeff. Now, what do you have in there?
I'm having a coffee cream nitro stout. So it's the first beer that we've put on nitro. We had a special event where we brought nitro in for something else, and we decided we might as well take a run at it. So we've always offered a coffee stout, and now we offer it on nitro. It seems to be pretty well received. People like it. I like it. It's a smoother beer. So it'll probably lead to other things that we'll do on nitrogen.
You know, most people in the brewery industry have beards, and you got just a cookie duster. Is there a reason for that?
There is a little bit of a story behind that. And while normally I do wear a beard, I'm not a brewer. I just do the other chores in the brewery when instructed. But normally I wear a beard so that I have some credibility amongst the community. But in this case, it's the month of Movember, and I said Movember, not November. Not to be confused with No Shave November, but in Movember we grow our mo, or mustache, to raise awareness for men's health issues. So those would be things like testicular or prostate cancer. I'm a testicular cancer survivor. And so I do it, as unappealing as it is to my wife, I do it to raise awareness because it does pique people's interest, and so it gives me an opportunity to talk about it. So, you know, men don't like to talk about their health or issues like that, so it gives me a chance to bring it up. And so, yes, my family has to suffer through it for the month of November. So
you seem to be a really community conscious person there. What other things do you have here that we're becoming aware of here as we talk with you?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. Yes, one of the things we do is we like to be very involved in the community. And if you've ever been in business, you know that everybody who has something to sell or raise money for wants to come to you to give you an opportunity to advertise your business. And while there are many good causes, one that's near and dear to us is hunger and food insecurity. We've partnered with a local church, the Summit Church, to create our own food pantry, the North Canton Cares Pantry. So in the back of the brewery, we store food, and on every Monday morning we go to the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank, and we get a van load of food. We bring it back here, and then on the second and fourth Monday of every month we do distribution out of the Summit Church to residents of the North Canton City Schools to try and help with food insecurity, because kids not having enough to eat is it's just not acceptable in my world. And I said that's something we're going to do whatever we can to help that. So we've started this in the spring, and we've reached several hundred families since doing it. So
I see you have a couple of bikes up there and a sign from Ernie's Bike Shop. What's that about here?
Trying to be a good neighbor. Ernie's Bike Shop is our neighbor just around the corner, and what we found is that bicyclists like to drink beer. In fact, they like to drink beer after going for a bike ride. So we figured we would partner with Ernie's. So twice a year we do an event called Bike and Brew. And now we've expanded that. This coming spring, we're going to do twice monthly bike rides that will launch here from the brewery and be led. Somebody from Ernie's will take members, who want to participate, and just go for a bike ride through the community and then come back, and they can, cool down afterwards with a cold beer.
That's my way of riding a bike.
Mine too.
Jeff, where's the genesis of this? Where did you start? How did you get started? What was your dream?
Well, most people have some great, deep, meaningful story. Let's go back to 2007. There were about 1,900 craft breweries in America, none in the Starr County area, and my partner at the time was brewing some great homebrew beer. We worked together, and we thought it'd be cool. Make some beer and start a business, What a great business model. Fast forward 12 years later, and it's exploded in the country, now almost 7,500 breweries nationwide.
What are your goals? What do you hope to do here?
Well, I think when we started this business, we set out to take over the world, like many breweries do, and we started building a self-distribution network. We were encompassing much of the state of Ohio, and as the beer industry has exploded and the competition has exploded, what we've learned from that is that we want to be local to the community. We want to be our brewery for North Canton. And so we've decided to retract from distributing and focus on, making craft beer for all people right here.
What is a beer that you would start somebody out on here that you have as a regular?
Well, I would say one of three choices probably. The first beer we ever made was our Roughneck Red. It's an amber ale. It's a craft beer, but it's red in flavor, malty, some caramel notes, but it's not too strong, and it doesn't turn people off. We've since branched out to now we've made nearly 50 beers since we opened this tap room from the flagship Roughneck Red. Our number one seller is Blackberry Ale. We've been here approximately 18 months, and month in and month out, the Blackberry Ale has been the best seller, followed up by Golden Ale. And Golden Ale is just a very easy drinking, less than 5%, light ale. When somebody comes in and they want a domestic beer, it's the beer that we offer them, and typically they can drink that and stay and have a pretty good time. And that's what led us to decide we want to make more beers that are attractive to a broad variety of people.
That's wonderful. Well, aside from the beer, what about some food? This stuff here would be pretty good with us. French fries and a hamburger.
Well, those are two. I'm glad you asked, but those are two items we don't offer, although often requested. We do have a pretty extensive offering for a small brewery. We have appetizers, crostinis. We do paninis, flatbreads. We have some salads. All in all, there's probably 30 items on the menu. We try and have a little something for everybody, some vegetarian items, and even some barbecue with burnt ends. And we expect to expand that going forward in the spring. We're gonna roll out some new items, but ultimately we're here for the beer. We have wine. We do have spirits. We make cocktails with our beer, but the focus on what we do here is having people come in and spend time with their friends and family and just have good experiences, and we're very beer centric here. We currently have 14 taps, so we try and have 6 to 8 beers on tap all the time, kind of our staple beers, and then we try and rotate through that and have a variety within each class. One of the things we've rolled out recently is a new beer release every Friday. So at 3 p.m., that's the entertainment. There's a new beer coming out, and
wow.
Typically these are going to be small batches, so they're experiments that we're trying to see whether or not they're popular and whether or not we're going to make them again and whether or not we make them in a large scale. So we have people who will show up for beer release at 3 o'clock on Friday to find out what's coming, because sometimes if you wait until Saturday afternoon, it's not here.
Oh, 3 o'clock, okay. I'm going to put that in my calendar. What else? Do you have entertainment here? Do you have singers come in? Or,
well,
bands?
We do that. We bring entertainment in. We'll have it's a large ceiling in here, made mostly of brick. So we have these acoustic panels to try and absorb some of the sound. But it is a working brewery space, not the most ideal setup for a musical group. So we try and keep it small, typically single soloists, or duos or trios, acoustic sets. We have games. We have shuffleboard, we have foosball, we have darts, and so seasonally we'll also offer cornhole. So we try and make it a fun environment. People bring their kids in. They can come in here in the afternoon. We have board games, card games. We just want people to come in and be able to relax. There's no pressure here. It's a brewery. Come in and relax, have some fun. We've got 8 TVs here. Typically we have some sort of sporting event on. But ultimately, like I said, beer is why we're here, so we try and make the beer the entertainment. We try and educate people and let them experiment and try new things. Oftentimes I hear people say, oh, I don't like that. We get them to try something and then they discover, wow, maybe I do like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So our goal is to maybe break down some barriers and some simple stereotypes, and maybe people walk out of there and say, wow, I didn't know that I liked that. I'm glad I tried it.
Now, Shale Brewing Company, I think of shale, I think of flat rocks. I had them on the farm when growing up there and stuff, and they made tile out of it and everything. What brought you to use that name?
Well, we started this business, and for any entrepreneur who's gone out and started a business and had to come up with a name, they know oftentimes that coming up with the name and perhaps the design of a logo or business cards is one of the biggest struggles they go through. We operated under another name previously, and there was an out-of-town business that came in and opened a brewery under a very similar name, and we decided that the confusion wasn't worth it in the marketplace. And so we said, let's rebrand. And in 2013, oil and gas was very big in this area, and amongst the names that we were throwing out there, shale is what kind of rose to the top. And so we figured that we could have some fun with some beer names and some concepts around that. And while the oil and gas business is not as big in this area as it was 5-10 years ago, it's the name we have, and we're proud of it, and we're going to continue to run with it, even if we start to shift it more towards the rock formations and less from the oil drilling.
All right, this has just been wonderful, but I look at all them taps over there, and I just want to taste something.
Sure.
What can we get into?
Well, I think we could try a variety of things. That's why we're here, right? So maybe what we'll do is pour you some samples, and you can go through them and maybe talk about your experience with the different flavors that you're going through.
Okay, now we're at the part that I love, the sampling. And Jeff, you've got some real choices here. What have we got?
Well, I'm going to take you around the state of Ohio on our flight board here. We'll start northwestern Ohio on the board. That's going to be our Deep Driller Porter. It's going to have some smoky notes to it. It's going to be about 6.5% alcohol by volume. Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Oh yeah, very drinkable.
That's a key phrase here, drinkable. Now, a lot of people throw that around in craft beer, drinkability, but for us, if a beer isn't one that you can come back to and have another one, it's not real drinkable in my book.
I'd recommend this porter. It's really nice. A lot of porters have a lot of sweetness to it. This really doesn't. It's more beer to me. I don't, I'm not a fruit juice drinker here. Come to drink beer. Okay.
So we're going to go to the northeastern part up there in the snow belt.
Oh, okay.
This is going to be another one of our flagships. This is the Cold Rolled Pale Ale. It's not quite what we would call a Sierra Nevada style, but that was kind of the inspiration behind it. Is that it's a lower IBU, but it's going to be something that has clean finish, very crisp, but still has a hoppy aroma, but not in your face with the hops.
Yeah, it smells very crisp. And again, very drinkable.
That's A lot of people like to make what they call session beers. To me, this is what we will call a sessionable beer. This is one that if you're going to sit around and maybe do some yard work, cook out with your friends, and then finish the day watching, watching a sporting event, you could, cheers.
Yes.
You could drink this all day long and not regret it the next day.
Yeah, it clears you out. All right.
So heading down to southeastern Ohio, we have the Roughneck Red Amber Ale, 5.4% alcohol. I'm going to call this every man's craft beer. This is something that if you're just dipping your toe in the water of craft beer, you could probably drink this and say, yeah. And if you're an experienced craft drinker and maybe you're not in the mood for something really strong, or you just want something that pairs well with a pizza, Roughneck Red is going to be the beer for you.
All right, this is the Roughneck.
This is Roughneck Red.
Now I noticed something in there. I don't know what to call it, but it's delightful.
I think we have some caramely, malty notes to that. Okay. Good with,
I'm not asking for any
no trade secrets. Maybe more like, some people said, oh, it's like drinking a soft pretzel. And I thought, okay, I can go with that. I mean, I like soft pretzels, maybe too much.
Yeah, I could go home with a quart of that. Yep. All righty.
We could probably make that happen for you.
Yeah.
All right, so the last one we have here on the flight board here in southwestern Ohio, this is called the Heat Miser. This is one of these small batches that we don't always have. It's an experimental. So this is a raspberry Berliner Weiss. And it's got a little kick of jalapeno. So the jalapeno is designed, sometimes people don't like spices in their beer, and the jalapeno in this is designed to maybe just give you a little kiss on the lips, but not burn you in the throat. So hopefully you'll get that.
Absolutely.
It's very subtle. And sometimes you have to have 2 or 3 sips of it just to be sure.
I can do that.
Just to be sure you're getting the jalapeno.
Yep. The second sip, I'll try a third one here.
You really want to make sure you get it.
Aside from waiting for the jalapenos, that is delicious. That's what my term is a dessert beer.
Well, and that's a Berliner Weiss, so it's a sour, and a lot of people will come in and say, oh, I don't like sour beer. But I don't think you would call that sour at all.
No.
Like you just referenced it as a dessert beer, and a dessert beer with some jalapeno kick to it. Most people are willing to give that a whirl. Now, if you're looking to just sit and drink beer, that's probably not going to be the one for you. But if you want to just have a couple sips of something different, well, here we are.
Finish up your meal. You know, instead of eating a pastry or something, you could drink another beer.
There you go. That's a great way to look at it. And I think you would find in most health and fitness plans that if your choices were between a pastry or drinking another beer, you're probably going to be further ahead to just drink another beer. Liquid calories way less than pastry calories.
Yes, that's what Dr. James recommends here.
Well, James, I know you didn't really come here to talk to me, and I've probably talked way too much for this show because I'm not the beer maker. I know the story behind our business, but ultimately, I'd like you to meet and talk with Vince. Vince Falcone is our brewmaster. We're very lucky to have Vince. He joined us about 2 months ago. After a very decorated career spanning coast to coast, we found him. We were in need of a new brewer. And I think God works in mysterious ways, and we found him at the end of our job search, and he came to us, and he is a true brew master with, like I said, more than 30 years of experience. He is trained under some of the best and brewed some of the best beers out there, and we feel very fortunate to have him on board. So this is where I'm going to politely bow out, and I'm going to let you go talk to Vince a little bit, and he can expound on how the magic happened.
Jeff, I want to really thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed it. You've given me some wonderful beers to sample, and this will go back to you empty, believe it or not. And I'm looking forward to talking to Vince.
Sounds great.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming.
All right, now is the best part is we're here with the brewmaster, Vince Falcone.
Howdy.
And you're quite an accomplished brewmaster. You've been around.
I've been in the trenches for years. Yeah, I started brewing in 1990. Just like weird story, just happened to be the right place at the right time. Working in Columbus, I just happened to be at a bar where I worked in between gigs where the brewmaster from Columbus Brewing Company, Scott Francis, came in, delivered a keg, and told the owner of the bar, look, I'm looking for a helper. And I'm like, sure. You know, I kind of just quit my other job. And I didn't know anything about beer. I wasn't a home brewer. I didn't care. I was a musician and just enjoying life, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were part of that Columbus scene in the 90s, the punk scene, whatever. And it was a lot of fun and great. And so I just lucked into the job, and you know, it's been a long, strange trip, I guess, ever since. I have worked all over the country. I've been a gypsy. I kind of, like, I left Ohio, you know, 10, 12 years ago. I ended a position in Cleveland, and there weren't a lot of breweries. And when I went to interview out west, they basically said I had no technical degree, so I wasn't employable, which was kind of weird for somebody having a lot of experience.
Yeah.
But I went back to school, went down to Hocking College and got a degree in biotechnology. While I was at Hocking College, I got to work at Jackie O's with Brad and help them start their barrel program. So I have somewhat of a storied experience because I've worked with some really awesome brewers. And like out west I did. I got to work with some of the, not work, but hang out with some of the guys from Green Flash. And the current head brewer at Green Flash is a guy that I took over for at the ale house at Pacific Beach. So I inherited like the some of the Green Flash amazing beers. Some of their prototypes were recipes that I inherited. And coming from Ohio, right when that Sculpted thing was taken off, it was fun. So I learned a lot. And I've gone to various areas just to kind of learn. I spent a year in Denver, you know, outside of Denver, just seeing what was going on there. And letting the brewery basically take me where I want to be. And so now I decided to come back to Ohio, and you know, I'm getting older and my family's getting older. Okay. I guess maybe it's time to put down roots. We'll see, knock on wood, right?
What do you hope to do here with the company? I know you like make new brews every Friday.
Yeah, so one of the things about the brew pub model that I found is that you can't just make the same beers over and over. The public really wants to see a difference. So we come out with a different beer every Friday, but I'm going to expand the draft lines and really make a wide array. We'll keep our standards on. We'll always have those, but we want it to be changing. We want you to come in. If you miss a week, you're going to miss something. So the whole thing is I'm going to pull out the stops on just about every crazy beer that I've ever seen or made, and we'll see what sticks. The bottom line is, what I want to create here is an experience that you don't have to go to Cleveland. You don't have to go to Columbus. You don't have to go to Pittsburgh. You got all that going on right here. And it's not just us. We got Fatheads. We got Fred up at Hopping Frog. We got a lot of breweries that are within a few square miles. And what we need to do is get the word out that we've got a great little scene here. And that's why I came here. I came here specifically because it wasn't Cleveland, it wasn't Columbus. It's kind of in between, but it has enormous potential.
Vince, tell us about the equipment here you got, the brewing and everything.
Yeah, we have an electric brew house. It's it makes 7 or 10 barrel batches. I can't really make huge 10-barrel batches. When I mean huge, I mean very high alcohol, very strong beers. Those are smaller batches because of the size of our mash tun. But generally, I make a 7 or a 10-barrel batch. We have, fermenters. We have 30-barrel and 10-barrel fermenters. We also have a small, a little nano brewery, which is over here. that makes a basically keg batch. So what I try to do is I make batches on here, which I did today. I made a batch of gold, but we also brew on the little system.
I noticed you got some wooden kegs here.
So we have barrels. So we're doing barrel aging.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
these are bourbon barrels. I love barrel aging. I love doing sours. It's awesome. Those are red wine barrels. So I have our house saison that has been inoculated with a Brettanomyces culture. That will be part of our cuvee program, our winter cuvee. I'm going to re-inoculate it and blend something else. I don't know what else. It might be more saison. It might be a lager. It might be barley wine. I don't know yet. But that will be what we're calling our winter cuvee. And cuvee just refers to it's like a cellar, your cellar beer. These are bourbon, and so what we have in two of them are excuse me, our coffee stout is aging that, and in 2 weeks we will debut a bourbon-aged coffee stout served nitro. We just kind of started with the barrels. Eventually we'll probably have 30 or 40 of them all over and do a wide range of crazy stuff. With barrels, really the sky's the limit. You can do all kind of crazy things. I also do kettle sours, which are a lactic acid produced sour that's produced in my kettle that then I re-ferment. It's almost like a kombucha. It's the big thing on the East Coast down in Florida. And so it's basically a naturally occurring sour that doesn't have wild yeast. You ferment it with your normal yeast. And so I do a lot of that with fruit. So right now we have what we call the Heat Miser, which is a raspberry infused version of our Berliner Weiss, which our Berliner Weiss was a sour wheat beer. And so I put raspberry in it, and then we put a jalapeno rim on it. Yeah. And it's called Heat Miser from that old cartoon. Yeah. And, you know, that's a whim, you know. It's like I hadn't really thought about that a month ago, and it was like, okay, let's do this. That's the cool thing about the sours is that it can, you know, any kind of fruit. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't, you know, most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But, you know, whatever. You sell me your mistakes. I've never had a beer that people said, oh, this is terrible. So it's like, maybe a little bit more of this and that. But in the end, you put it on at the bar and you let the customers decide.
Vince, I see you talked about nitro. What does that really do for the beer? What do you do with it?
Well, so nitro is, you know, the most common example is Guinness. They serve it so when you're producing beer, you infuse carbon dioxide to give it the fizz, the carbonation. Yeah. And the carbonation level also affects the flavor. The higher the carbonation, really the less flavor you're going to get because the bubbles do something to your tongue. Your tongue is a real sensitive scientific instrument in a sense. And so it picks up a lot of things. So without CO2, you would say it's flat. The other way to produce it is to fuse nitrogen. Now the thing about fusing nitrogen is it gives it a much more velvety flavor, in my opinion, but it also has a cascading effect in the visual end. One of the most pleasant things in the world is getting a pint of Guinness or any kind of I love Guinness, why not?
So do I.
But you know, you get a pint of a nitrogenated stout and you watch the foam cascade down. Yeah. That's an enjoyable thing, and a lot of people love it. And so that was just one of the things. We put on a keg of Guinness for a party, and I was like, well, let's nitro a beer. Since we got it set up, let's do something. So I have a little carbonation system that I built, so I'm able to fuse directly. Or I would fuse the nitrogen into one of my bright tanks. But it's completely different from carbon dioxide because it has to be a colder temperature and a higher pressure. So it's not the easiest thing to do and do it well. But we enjoy it, and it's something that we want to continue to do.
Worth the effort.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, you have been really, I don't know what to say. I've learned more from you than I have anybody.
Thanks a lot, folks. Come and visit. I'll buy you a beer.
Okay, I'll take you up.
All right.
Well, here we are at Shale Brewing Company, and we got Paul,
Matt, Ernie.
Ernie, okay. And you guys have been regular customers here for a while?
Yeah, I actually I used to golf with the guys that started this place up.
Okay,
so
that's cool.
Popped in, and good beer.
Okay, good. What do you got there, Ernie?
Got the cold rolled ale.
Cold rolled ale, Matt?
That's a dark lager.
Okay, Paul.
Cold rolled ale, too.
Cold rolled ale.
Yeah.
And then you, that's not your first one, I see.
That's right. It's the Huckleberry. It's a fruit
the
ale.
Huckleberry. Yeah, I had sampled that. That was really good. So, what do you think of the beers here?
Yeah, I've been coming here for a while now. I really enjoy them. You know, they got a couple staples, the cold roll, the deep driller, things like that. They are fantastic. Roughneck Red's solid. It's probably
those
the
are my
top
top
three.
two.
They got the nice signs up here for them. It's because they're their workhorses.
Definitely.
Do you try to make it in on Fridays for the specialty beer of the month or the week? I mean,
We usually don't. No, we're usually middle of the week. You know, yeah, like a Tuesday or Wednesday seems like what we do.
Midweek after work, solving the world's problems. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of a better place to do it there.
That's right.
Okay, here we are at another table at the Shale Brewing Company. We got a nice group of folks here. We have
Shelley Rice
Jay Rice.
and Barb Palmer.
All right, and this is your hangout that you like to come to? I mean, you're always here?
We come here quite a bit. I used to come here every night after golf because one of the gentlemen that started this owned it. He sold about a year ago out, but so after golfing with him, we come here every Tuesday night.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and what are you drinking here, Shelley?
I'm drinking the coffee stout, which the first time we came here, we got a flight and tested a couple of them, and this has been my favorite. And I come in and it's just, Jay just gives me the usual.
It's your usual.
It's
Okay,
my
that's
usual.
good, that's good. Jay, what do you
Roughneck Red, and that's one of them that they actually started with.
Yes.
That was their first one here. So I like reds like that. I also like the coffee stout and probably about 8 more.
Yeah, they have quite a few wonderful flavors here. Barb, what about you?
It's my first time here.
Ah, okay.
I'm having the golden ale. It's very good.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So now, are you from the area? Being your first time? Okay,
Yes.
okay. And this fine couple drug you out kicking and screaming?
Yes, pretty much. They did. They're good for that.
Nothing like friends like that. Drinking beer. That's
Right.
what we want. So, okay. Well, then, you eat here very often, or
Actually, every time we come, we eat here, and their Asian basin grilled tuna is absolutely phenomenal. I order it every time.
Another, give me the usual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
He knows.
Jay.
I try something different almost every time. I think I've had probably everything on there. I've not had anything that I dislike.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of picking whatever I'm in the mood for.
And of course, Barb, you haven't ate a darn thing here yet,
Nope.
have you? Okay.
I'm not.
So, well, we're looking forward to seeing you eat something here and enjoying it.
I hope you get that on tape.
Thank you for joining us here at the Shale Brewing Company in North Canton, Ohio. And may you join us again as we are in search of Ohio's finest beers.